Hey everybody, hope you guys are all in good spirits before you go off to, hopefully it will be one last day on the plantation. But today, or yeah, right now, I wanted to talk about education. At the, uh, I live in Louisville, and the last couple of days, there's been a lot of issues with the JCPS, which is the Jefferson County public schools, and they've been having issues with one of the principals left because what was it? He had left because he made some racist remarks and stuff like that to some of the students, and he was basically real insensitive to a transgender student, like asking them about like what kind of genitals they had and if they had any operations or work done. And then there was then he had told a couple of kids on the a couple of black students on the football team that they shouldn't kneel for the anthem. And then there was a couple of kids. There was a fight at another school, and a couple of kids had got arrested. And basically, there's some people from Black Lives Matter that went to a school board meeting, and they started to protest. They started protesting the or how the police interactions with the students and the contract and stuff that they had with the Louisville Metro Police. And quite honestly, I'm just done with. I don't understand why people continue. I don't get why people, are still in that mindset of just arguing with these people. Like they don't care. It, the way that the school systems are set up, you could get rid of the principal, you can get rid of the teachers, you can change out all those people, and it's not going to make any bit of difference because it's the public school system. They're basically run by the government, which doesn't, they're not looking out for black people. So they don't care about the what's with the police being involved at the school. And I was reading some of the comments and unfortunately it wasn't surprising. It was pretty typical. They called them thugs. We know people love using that term. They're thugs. Though we have to get rid of those thugs in the school system. But if they were white kids, then it's just what we got to discipline these kids, or what's going on. They would actually ask questions and care to talk to these people and wonder what's going on with their lives and stuff like that. And that's what the real problem is that it's just shut up, sit down, and we're gonna tell you a bunch of stuff, and then you got to pass a test, which is completely arbitrary. Doesn't it's crazy. Like I grew up out in the country, so. And I, like all things considered, like I didn't really get as a diverse education as far as like, especially the lot of stuff that I started reading now. But I don't I don't know if I could have made it in the city school because what was I gonna say? Because the way that they have the way that the way that they had this set up is that you're oh man, I completely lost my train of thought. Um, all right, sorry about that. I got I'm just way too I'm a little bit sleep deprived because I gotta work overnights. But um, but no, it's just crazy. It's just crazy to me how uh, how really messed up like the school system is in the cities. And like I said, I grew up in the country, so I don't. I had a pretty. Uh, I would consider it like pretty average education, or at least I thought it was an average education. Um, because once I started talking to people that did like grow up in the city. Um, I was just talking to one of my friends who who went to who grew up here and went to the public schools, and I was telling him about stuff like uh, what was it like the genocide in Rwanda and apartheid and all that kind of stuff. Like, cause we were talking about like the kind of what we were taught about Africa in growing up in high school. And he was like, he didn't know what apartheid was, and that was just like that was so shocking to me that that's a that's like that's when it comes to racism, that's kind of the peak. Other than slavery, it doesn't get more discriminatory than apartheid. But you have these kids and they have these just they're not getting taught what they're supposed to. They're not getting the proper black education, which right there that begins that mental breakdown already. And then to add to it, they have the police officers there, which even if you don't get arrested, like even if it doesn't lead to you going to jail, just having that sort of interaction of whether it's being put in cuffs or just accused of stuff and harassed by the police, that already starts to people don't realize like that already starts that prison pipeline. That starts to break you down. Even if you don't go to jail or stand in front of a judge, just getting harassed by the police already puts that doctrine that something is wrong with you, that you're a bad kid, and that you deserve this. Which and then what's even worse, what even becomes worse, is that as the what they do escalates, as what they do escalates, then it feeds into people's perception, and they say that they continue like, yeah, that's it, lock them up, that these are bad kids, that they have bad parents and stuff like that. And it's just instantly, oh, he's a criminal because he sold drugs or he had a gun or whatever it is. And there's no sympathy. Nobody says, oh man, no, that's messed up. What's going on with these kids? What can I do? Go and look, basically like me. I'm trying to look for opportunities to do mentorships and basically any opportunity I can to volunteer, because that's terrible. That can be prevented. They're not bad kids. I guarantee you they're not bad kids, and they can be 10 times more successful than most of the people in their class if they were actually taught properly and wasn't just assumed to be a criminal. Because it's not even just with the law enforcement, but when you start suspending kids, that starts it too. That I'm a problem, that there's something wrong with me. What's the point if I'm dumb? I'm gonna fail, or anything like that. And it's just baffling to me that you could be a teacher and just have they could have teachers like that just have no patience. Then no patience, no sympathy for trying to understand why this person is acting out, why they're sleeping in class, why they have an attitude. Nothing. They don't see the bigger picture, and that they are a teacher. That while those students are in your classroom, they are your responsibility. It should be as if you are the parents of all of them. That's how you should. That's how a teacher should teach every single class. If I were their parents, what would I want to see from the teacher? And when you take that care, that goes a long way, especially with the system that we have now. I mean, that's having teachers like that is absolutely tremendous. And that's why, as far as like the public school system goes, I'm personally I'm done with it. I'm if anybody asks me, or like to, if I talk to many, I would tell them, as long as your kid knows how to read and write and do basic math, there's no purpose. If you can find, either if you're able to homeschool yourself, or I understand a lot of people work and they may be a single parent family or single parent home, and it is what it is. Everybody struggles, but I think when when I see the people protesting about getting better treatment for their kids and a better education, like, I understand that. I don't have nothing against them, but it's like it's more like you're going about it the wrong way. Instead of turning towards, you're begging. It's like you're. I don't mean anything like bad against the people that were protesting. I completely understand why they're upset and that they would want better. But at the same time, once you get to a point, and especially like learn about all this stuff, it's like why are you trying to beg with your oppressor to teach your kids better? It's not going to happen. It doesn't matter what teachers you put in there. It doesn't matter who the principal is. They're going to get that same no good education. They're not going to learn anything. They're not going to know how to be black, nothing about their history or anything. They're not going to be comfortable in their own skin. And when you pass the buck like that, like being at a place like U of L, it's scary. It really is scary. Like, if your child is not prepared to be in that environment, it can really mess you up. Because I was talking to somebody the other day, and they pretty much confirmed my belief. Like, I've taken classes there, and I try to think, like, did I have a black teacher? Did I ever see a black teacher? And I was like, no, barely even see black people there. It's not crazy. It's not crazy to go into a classroom and to there be like less than, that you could have a university that has like 20,000 people in it, and you could still be the black kid in class. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. And not to mention no black teachers. From what I understand, and which is what I would have assumed, is that the only black teachers that they have there are Pan-African studies. That's not right. There's no way you can't tell me that there isn't qualified black teachers out there. But here's the thing. It's that with that suspending the kids and the police, that people don't see the full circle or think of a big picture. But that's when they say, oh, this discriminatory or what is affirmative action is reverse racism, because now I have to hire a certain amount of black people. And it's like, well, what do you, and this was another thing with the principal at Manuel. He said this, well, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to hire black teachers, or do you want me to hire the best teachers? Without seeing the problem. Like, people just look at that fact and say, oh yeah, well, I would want the best teachers to teach my students. I wouldn't want somebody just because they're black to be teaching my kid just because of whatever. But they're missing the point. If the school system wasn't so messed up in the first place, you wouldn't have that problem, because kids would be encouraged. There would be kids in class saying, oh, I'm going to go to college to become a teacher, because if they got a proper if they had a proper education, they would feel encouraged to have those pursuits, or empowered. That's what I was thinking of. They would feel much more empowered to have those pursuits. But if you're constantly demonizing them and saying that they don't matter, and that they're criminals, they're thugs, they're whatever, they're no good, that dealing drugs and all, then that's what's going to happen. That's what they're going to become, because they're kids. They don't know any better. They don't have the same mental capabilities and knowledge that an adult or somebody much older has acquired. Like, for me, I really didn't start learning too many things until I started pursuing my own education, and really and reading more, and really understanding what's going on, and what's going on, and like the true depths of racism. And that's why the people in the black community need to stop begging these people to fix it, and they need to look in their communities and come up with their own solutions and educate themselves so that they can educate their children. And so understandably, like I said, that people work, that they're multiple, that families work, but I'm sure you could find somebody qualified and say, get maybe 10 kids or something like that, and say, okay, you can teach my kid, or they can, pay to have that person stay at work and teach my kid. All right, well.